At the first hour, I would like to explain about sequence diagram. So what is sequence diagram? This is a section under the form processing. So I'm going to explain the details about form processing today. I'm going to explain the sequence diagram at the first hour, and then I will explain what is get and what is push. And yeah, there will be one example how to apply the filtering in the form processing. So the sequence diagram. Sequence diagram, we call it sequence diagram. It is to show the interaction, or we call it object interactions, arranged in the time sequence. It depicts the objects and classes involved in the scenario and the sequence of messages exchanged between the objects needed to carry out the functionality of the scenario. So maybe this word is too long, but the point is the sequence of messages. So there will be messages, and we want to know the sequence of the messages. These diagrams are widely used by the businessmen and the software developers. For the software developers, we can use the sequence diagram to understand the flow. For the businessmen, they will need this kind of sequence diagram to understand how the program works. It is for the document and understand the requirement for new and existing systems. In the sequence diagram, there will be at least two things for you to understand. The first is the actors. An actor in the UML diagram. So UML, I forgot to mention this one. UML is the Unified Modeling Language. So in the UML or Unified Modeling Language, there are many kind of languages. So one of the language is the sequence diagram. So that's why we call it the UML diagram. An actor in a UML diagram represent type of rule. A type of rule means if you are an admin, then it is one rule. If you are a manager, then this is one rule. If you are a client, so this is another rule. And this rule will interact with the system and the object. So for example, the admin can change the ID and password, but the client cannot change the ID and password. So that kind of things, we call it the rule. And the other thing that we need to look at is the lifeline. A lifeline is a named element which depicts an individual participant in a sequence diagram. So this is a kind of instance. So if the instance start and stop, so I can have that sequence or that instance will be represented by a lifeline. Lifeline elements are located at the top in a sequence diagram. So usually, this is an actor, and this represents a lifeline or an instance. And there will be another kind of object, we call it comment. So the comment object is a rectangle with a folded over corner as shown below. So this is the comment. So the comment can be linked to the related object with a dash line. So dash means like this one, dash. This is a dash line. Now, if you look at the right section, we have an actor and we have a lifeline. So the difference between a lifeline and an actor, so you can see this is an actor, this is the lifeline. A lifeline always portrays an object internal to the system, whereas the actors are used to depict the object external to the system. So it means this is the user who will connect to the system. So we call this is the external. And those two, the lifeline, they are the internal in the system. So for example, I'm going as a user, I would like to buy a theater ticket. So this is a theater ticket. So as a user, when I want to buy a theater ticket, then I can insert my card. So this is the first. And then I select the date. And then this kiosk or this system will give you the information about the available seat. So the system will offer you a seat that you can buy. After the user select, then the user can submit the order. Once the user submit the order to this system will connect to, for example, this is a database or the server, and the server give the confirmation, and the system will give the order confirm information to the user. So this is one example of the sequence diagram. So if you have this sequence diagram, it means you know the flow of your system or the flow of your program. In some cases, you need to have the messages. So the messages means we are going to communicate between the objects. Yeah. So communication between object is depicted using messages. So the messages appear in the sequential order of the lifeline. We represent messages using arrow. So this is the messages. This is the messages. So the messages means something, we have an information from something to something. So this message is from the user to the kiosk. So for example, you touch the kiosk, then it means there is a message from the user to the kiosk. The lines and messages from the core of sequence, from the core of a sequence diagram. Okay. So this is the lifeline, and those are the messages. So there are many kind of messages. Yeah, for example, this one later we will take a look. Okay. For example, the customer, he or she wants to connect to the bank system. The customer will send a message that he or she requires something. And then the bank will open the system for some time. And then the customer can do during this session. So for example, if you are connecting to your application on the bank, usually you may have only like 10 minutes. So you have only 10 minutes to do something in your bank application. And then after 10 minutes, if you do nothing, then the application will be closed. So it means we have also a lifeline here. So there's a lifeline, or yeah, there's a kind of time limit for your application. Sometimes we can also use the asynchronous message. So asynchronous message means when you want to do, when you want to ask to the bank, you send an email. So after you send an email, the bank will receive the email, and then they will open maybe the usually in the software engineering we call it the ticketing. They will open the ticketing period for maybe 1 day, 2 days, and after you complete with the requirement, then yeah, they will stop the ticketing period. Yeah, if you put a message to the bank, maybe the bank cannot solve the problem by themselves. So the bank can also connect to the other party. For example, the bank should connect to the insurance agent. And yeah, the insurance agent will do something. There will be another process in the insurance agent, and etc. If the insurance agent cannot do this requirement, then they will stop. So it means, yeah, the X means they will stop the inquiry, and then they will give a response. So at the end, after all those process happen, if there is nothing that you can get, the system will give you a reply message. So the customer will get the information. Okay, the inquiry that you asked at the first time, we cannot solve the problem. Or the inquiry that you asked, the solution is like this one. So this is only showing the flow, how the system works. Sometimes there will be a kind of self message. The self message means you can get the alarm. So once you already give a question to the bank, there will be a kind of notice. So you already did this message to the bank at 10 a.m. So those kind of things. It is the self message from the bank to confirm that you already did something for the inquiry. So those kind of things, yeah, we can draw it in the sequence diagram. There are several kind of messages in the sequence diagram. Yeah, I can say there are at least 6 messages. So we will take a look each of these messages. First is synchronous message. The second is asynchronous message. The third is written message. Fourth is participant creation message, participant destruction message, and then reflexive message. For the synchronous message, it means it is used when the sender waits for the receiver to process the message and return before carrying on with another message. So once I send a message, so this object should give the reply or should give the response before another message. So the arrowhead, yeah, this kind of arrowhead used to indicate this type of message is a solid one. Okay, this one is solid. Okay, and then we have an arrowhead. So this kind of message, this is the asynchronous message. This is another asynchronous message. Asynchronous message, we call it asynchronous means it is used when the message caller does not wait. So the keyword is not. The previous one, when we are dealing with the synchronous, so it is waiting. So when you call to the AS center, when you do the calling, and then you need to wait. So if you are waiting for that one, it means it is the synchronous message. But if you are dealing with the message that you do not wait, so for example, sending email, you just wait for maybe tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, we'll get the response, then it is asynchronous message. So it is used when the message caller does not wait for the receiver to process the message and return before sending another message to other objects within the system. So the arrowhead used to show this type of message is like this line arrow. So the same with this one. But sometimes we will put the message here, whether it is asynchronous or it is synchronous. Written message. It is used to indicate that the message receiver is done processing the message and is returning control over the message caller. So for example, I have the object one, this is the user one, for example, and then he send a message. After some time, this object two, maybe the receiver, give a response. So we call this is a written message. So the written message can be anything. For example, when you are calling to the AS center, if the system cannot solve now, you can give the message. Maybe there will be another message. For example, the admin will call you back later in 10 minutes. Or maybe there will be another message. For example, you need to call back again in another 10 minutes. Okay, so those kind of things, we call it the written message. Written messages are optional notation pieces. So it means this is optional. You can have the written message or you can just have only one line message. For an activation bar that is triggered by a synchronous message, always implies a written message. So if you have the synchronous message, usually you need to have the written message. You need to have the response message. But if it is asynchronous, yeah, it depends whether you have the response or not. Participant creation message. For the participant creation message means objects do not necessarily live for the entire duration of the sequence of the event. Objects or participant can be created according to the message that being sent. So here I can say this is the participation creation message. So these things will happen when you send a message. This instance will happen when you send a message. So if there is no message, then we will not create this object. If there is no message, we will not create this particular timestamp. If the created participant does not does something immediately after its creation, so you should add an activation box right below the participation box. It means when you give a message, so you need to put a participation box like this one. Or when you give a message to this one, then you will create a lifeline here. We have participant destruction message. So likewise, participants, when no longer needed, can also be deleted from a sequence diagram. So this is done by adding an X at the end of the lifeline of the set participant. So you send a message here. Okay. After some time, the object to process the message, and if there is nothing more for the interaction between the object 1 and object 2, so it will be destroyed at some point of time. This is also another example. When you send a message to create the object 3, so after sometimes, if there is no other inquiry or if there is no other message, let's say the object 1 say, okay, I finish with this requirement, then it will be destroyed. So you completed the task. And the last one, this is the reflexive message. So the reflexive message means it is an object sends a message to itself. It is called a reflexive message. It is indicated with a message arrow that starts and ends at the same lifeline. At the same lifeline. This is the lifeline. And it sends into the same lifeline as shown in the example. So these kind of things, usually we have the warning when we already log in into a system. So after 10 minutes, if we are inactive, then there will be a self message. Do you want to continue or do you want to log out? This is just a self message to remind you whether you want to still on the system or not. When you do with the sequence diagram, the most important thing is how to draw it. And for some people, and in some literatures, they mention that when you draw the sequence diagram, you can obtain it from the class diagram. The class diagram, if you already joined computer programming, like the OOP, object-oriented programming, you will look at the class, is the class. So the class diagram is a diagram that we can create based on the object-oriented paradigm. So let's say this is an example. This is a class of ADM. Okay, so I don't need to explain again about the OOP. This is the class name. And then this is the data member. And this is the behavior or method. In this case, this is about the ATM. And there are two data members, ID and cache. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 methods. Switch on, switch off, get ID, card inserted, read the card, verify the PIN, eject the card, dispense cash, check if the cash is available, read the PIN, retain card. Then you can draw this one. So before we draw this one, let's look at the other kind of class. So we have card reader class. In the card reader class, we have only the method insert the card, read the card, and retain the card. For the session, we have to perform the session and then handle failed transaction. So this is related to the cache, and this is related to the card. So you can draw the simple sequence diagram like this one. At first, this is the card reader. You will insert the card to the machine, to the ATM. Once you insert the card, then there will be a time, this is the lifetime happening in the ATM, and then you will create a message, or this is one session. So we'll create a new session. And then after this session is created, we have this session. So the ATM will generate the lifetime in this session. And then in this session, the session will read the card. Okay. After the session read the card, it will give the read card method to the card reader. And then if the card is correct, this is the card from the bank, then it will give a message to the session. Yes, this is the card from the bank. And then the session will ask the machine to get the PIN. Then the ATM will show the display. What is the PIN from the user? The user will put the PIN. And after the user give the PIN will go to this session and it will be checked. If everything is correct, then there will be a message sent to the display that you can do the transaction. Okay. So this kind of sequence, it is the sequence diagram. And of course, this sequence diagram is only for the reading. And there will be a lot of sequence diagram. This is another example. This is an example about the user registration and user login. For example, a user or an actor, he wants to log in into the page. So this is the login. But before the user log in, he needs to register. So once the user register his name, email, nationality, user ID, password, then if everything goes well, it will give a written message, the registration status, whether it is success or not. Once the user has the ID and the password, he can do the login into the login page. In the login page, there is a validation process going to the validate function. And then if the user ID and the password is true, then it goes to the welcome page. What about if the ID and the password is wrong? So you will show the error message. It goes to this error message. And then there will be a written message, login error. Now, if we are in the welcome page, check whether the role is admin or not. If the role is admin, then you can connect to the user list. So you can see all the users. And then there are two kinds of lifeline, delete and modify. If you want to delete the user based on the user ID, you can do here. And then if everything is going well, then we will show the deletion result. If you want to modify the user, so let's modify the user based on the user ID. And then once you complete the user modification, then you will show the modification result. In the welcome session or in the welcome section, you will show the response to the users. Whenever they refresh, you will see what is in the welcome page. In the user list, you will also give the written message to the user. What will you see on the user list page? So this is another example about the sequence diagram. This is another example of the sequence diagram. Let's say I have a user and I want to see the list of the members. Now I'm going to add a new member. If I'm adding a new member, let's take a look on the validation. If everything is good, so for example, the name, the email, the age, all of them are based on the requirement. If everything is true, then you will get back to the list member and then you can see the result. If it is false, then you will go to the error message section and then you will return back to the add member so the user can fix it again. If you want to modify the user, so you can go to the function or the lifeline of update member. And then once you update it, then let's check if the update, oh, I think I need to have this one. Update, we have to validate. If the validation is correct, then you will go back to the list member. If it is false, then you will return back to the update member. It's the same with the deletion. When you delete, check if the deletion is correct, then you will show the deletion result. But if you do not want to delete, once you cancel it, then you will return to the update member. So this kind of flow. So I think I missed one line here. I missed one line to validate the user. So rule of thumbs. When you draw the sequence diagram, just draw like a kind of flow. It is rarely used the options. For example, if there is any loop or maybe some alternative or else. So this construct complicate a diagram and make them hard to read or interpret. So you do not need to make very complicated. Frequently, it is better to create multiple simple diagrams. For example, I draw only the login function. So this is one sequence diagram. I draw the user management. Then this is another sequence diagram. So you can separate the sequence diagram, not in one big sequence diagram. When you draw in the big sequence diagram, it is impossible to read all of them. Create the sequence diagrams for use case when it helps clarify and visual complex flow. And please remember, the goal of UML, the Unified modeling language is communication and understanding. Okay? So you need to just use this UML for the communication. For building this sequence diagram, there are many kind of tools. Okay, you can use the online tools like this one, the sequencediagram.org, or you can use the visual paradigm in the online section. Yes, and you can use any other tool. Okay? For example, if I use this one, yeah, this already provide you a sequence diagram, so you can change this one, and then you can change this one. So they already have what is the message, and then what is the response, what is the comment, and etc. Okay, so okay, that's all. So let's take a break. I will continue the break.